Yeah, so we got the motor in, guys, for the 72 Cutlass convertible finally. It was a mix-up with the shipping, and we finally got it in. We got a motor and transmission with 28,000 miles. We found one through our parts distributor that will be get things like this from used. You know, so we're just pretty much gonna go in with this as it is, and we'll do probably some mods on it in the future. Intake change, as well as a cam upgrade, you know, probably put some better springs in it where you can get a little more lift on the cam. And it's, you know, Brian Tooley Racing, which we actually get parts and stuff from as well. They have a dope intake and cam for it that's dynoed at like 650. You know, this motor is like 400 horse, 460 torque. With just the cam swap with their intake, it went to 650 horse, like 650 torque. Like, that's crazy. That's 200 horsepower plus over just with a cam swap. So you could just see how detuned the motor is from the factory for longevity. You know what I mean? That's why it's like that. But it's a lot of motor. The L8T, we got one of these for the 71 Hardtop too. You know, I've been a big fan of this motor, which is why, you know, we'll do this over any other swaps. First off, I like, you know, this is the newest technology, LT platform Gen 5 that Chevy came out with. And if you guys do your research on this motor, we'll talk a little more about it later, but it's a foundation that's a beast. It's a solid steel block. The last block that GM put in that everybody was crazy about was the 6.0. All the people know about the 6.0 LS. It was a great block because it was all steel. You could put the LS3 heads on it, where you basically put a whole LS3 top on it, where a lot of people was getting the 6.0, stroking it, put a bigger crank in it, and then they will put the LSA supercharger on it with the LS3 heads. All of that stuff will bolt right up to the 6.0, you know what I'm saying? So that's why it was such a well-used block. You know, those motors was put in the older Escalades and some of the high-end GM motors and GM trucks, and they last 300,000–400,000 miles. You know, the longevity of that motor was excellent, you know, which is a great foundation for booster applications, which is what a lot of people are doing now. This is the latest big brother format of that motor. You know, it's a solid steel block. The big thing about an L8T is really a 6.2 that GM already stroked. You know, that's how it's a 6.6. And you know, it is solid steel. A big upgrade to this motor than that 6.0. This one have oil piston squirters on it, to where that's a high performance option where it loses up the piston as well from the bottom. So that's another thing that's over the 6.0, as well as, you know, all of the LT5 motors are direct injection, and it goes away from the LS, which has port injection, you know. So just things like that, you know, I really like about the motor. We already ordered the ECU. We actually are dealers of the PCI ECUs. Kind of want to do like a video in itself on it, you know. So if you guys need some nice ECUs, you can order them through us. We'll give you a good price on them. One of the main points that I will say now about a PSI, I like the fact that as long as you have a Gen 5 motor, which is an LT motor, you could pick whatever transmission you want. You can get a 6-speed, you can get an 8-speed, or a 10-speed. You know what I'm saying? So even with the connecting cruise, GM just kind of came out with a 10-speed for the L8T. But before, you were limited with just the 6-speed. Like if you get the high performance, the LP8, which is a version of the same L8T, but it just has a high performance cam in it, and it gives you 100 more horsepower, 100 or so. But just saying all that to say that was limited to a 6-speed. With them, if you use their harness, you could pick whichever one, 6, 8, 10, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? They're gonna tune it. The one thing about the 6-speed is the only GM transmission where the computer is on the inside of the transmission. So we got to take that part out, send it to them. They will tune it. We get it back, put it in. Now your TCM and your ECM is all tuned together, ready to go, get a crank. If you want to stay mild and still have you a nice motor, this is an excellent motor for you. And if you want to go really crazy, 1,200 horsepower, this motor do it in its sleep. You know, obviously with all of the additives, you know, you gotta go force induction, supercharged or turbocharged, and then you can get up to the 4-digit numbers. But it's a block that can withstand whatever, you know what I mean? Like, this is probably the block I'm gonna use on the pickup truck, the C30 that we're building in the back, you know, and then probably go inside of it and, you know, beef up a little more. But yeah, man, it's a hell of a block. We got it. Glad we got it in, and now we can go to the next phase of motorizing 72 Cutlass converter, man. VTSV Auto, we bring it to you live, first news. Stay tuned, don't forget, we coming.